Hello there. This is no steep sleeve. That pretty much illustrates it. This is no steep sleeve. This is no sleep Steve. Um, we are officially now in Ohio ordered to stay in our homes until the 6th of April. The stutter. The thing that I read this morning, first thing this morning, it says Stark man dies. I'm in Stark County. Stark man dies, 58, with underlying health conditions. I'm a Stark man, 52, with underlying health conditions. But yeah, we're under lockdown, man. I've heard it is. Oh, I unplugged my clock last night when I fell over the cords. It is approximately 10 a.m. I've heard zero traffic on this street, and it's a Tuesday. So, how they are gonna like impose this order on people, whether you're gonna get arrested by cops in you know hazmat suits, or if you know a cop's gonna get want to get anywhere near you, or you can sneeze or cough in a cop's direction and suddenly you're guilty of assault with a deadly weapon, or attempted murder or not. I don't know. I'm not trying to be funny about it. There's nothing funny about it. Um, there's nothing funny about me being woke up at 8:20 with a phone call from a guy I called yesterday, which was supposed to be my real estate agent. We'll call him. That was supposed to help me get out of this place I've been trapped in. And but he woke me up, and then I had a really embarrassing moment where uh, my phone. I got that one of them Obama phones for free because I want to save on my house phone, and it's got all kind of shit on it, man. It's got free my ass. It is nothing but ads and trying to get me to play games and shit like that. So they still let the aid workers come out and help. You know, I guess I qualify as severely disabled. I don't think of myself that way because it's not a healthy way to think about yourself. But I call her up and I'm like, yeah, I got to cancel for today. It's like I just woke up and I don't feel good, and there's really no reason for to have her come down here because she's gonna come down here on Thursday anyway, and I haven't filled out my forms I need to get mailed to Medicaid anyhow. But I told her they sent my scripts back, and they did. They sent my scripts back. They call it sending them back, but they give you so many days, of course, to pick them up. They just cancel your order. But they got this stupid thing where they send it back to your doctor. It's like everything's done by the computers now. You cancel. I can't pick them up anyways. So anyways, the point of what was the embarrassing thing that I did was I canceled my appointment, and I was mumbled my way through it. And then the phone had a nudie picture over top of it, so I couldn't put it on speaker when I was first using it. And then it was one of them ads for a porn site or something like that. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck it. I'll just talk. I usually talk on the speakerphone. I just talk with it up to my head, old school. And and then I'm trying to hang up on this lady, and I can't hang up on this lady. And I'm like, fuck you, you fucking phone, man, you stupid fucking piece of shit. And then I hear click. She was listening to that. I wasn't cursing her out. I was cursing out the phone. But she was listening, and I was like, fuck you, you fucking phone, because I can't even work the thing anymore. It's got so many ads on it, man. I don't know how I've kept from breaking it so far. It gives me free minutes and shit, but it's it is even hard to unlock. It's it gives you this screen like this, and then it says to open, slide to open. First thing, you saw the boobs. First thing, you're hit with ads, and then you got to go to here. And you got to push that, and that might work. And then you got to scroll through this shit. And it's like, I'm trying to talk to boobs first thing in the morning, and not in a good way, you know, just on the phone, like blocking the speaker button. And I get called by the dude. I wanted to talk to the Brent guy, but he didn't leave a message. And man, I had like no sleep, man, none. And yeah, and the lockdown thing started, and people are observing it because this is a pretty important street. Wait a minute. No, that's just the furnace kicking on. I thought I heard a car. But I've been up since 8:20, and I've heard no traffic on the street. So, how they going to enforce this, I don't know. Whether we're under some kind of martial law or shit. But I'm going to tell you something. If I get up at the appropriate hour, I'm still taking my walks. You know, even like if it's right around sunrise, I'm going to still take my walk. I'm still taking my walks outside. I ain't encountering nobody. I ain't breathing on nobody. And I'm the one that should be worried because they had a 58-year-old dude with underlying health uh, conditions die in my county, and I'm 52 with underlying health conditions. So, I'm still taking my walks, man. Fuck that. I mean, I hurt like a bastard right now, and I'm just running on coffee. But yeah, man, yesterday wasn't a good day. I gotta say, the highlight of my day was I made a good video. I made a good, nice hour and 20-minute video. I watched it back and went to sleep to it. I was on point. I was lucid. I was sharp. I talked nice about my mama, and I thought it was a good video. I thought like, yeah, okay, that's one of my better videos. So that was like the highlight of my day. Everything else sucked. So I slept in the afternoon like I knew I was going to. I felt like garbage. I sat there and I watched stupid videos on YouTube and didn't eat. And then I tried to like walk in the house, and right when that was before the quarantine started, or they call it a lockdown. It's more dramatic than a quarantine. They calling it a lockdown. I, but yeah, I was walking through here, and then I was like, man, my heart. I'm starting to sweat a lot. It's like, and my heart feels weird, and I was like, man, I don't want to take no chances. My heart's. I've been a little concerned about my heart and stuff. And like, I don't want to take no chances and end up having to go to the hospital and get exposed to this shit because we got. I don't. We just had a guy die in my county. I'm gonna go through a hospital in my county. I don't know what this. I didn't read up on this guy's underlying health conditions, but I bet you I got him beat. I bet you if I was playing him in poker, man, I beat him. So not good, not good. How they gonna enforce this shit? I don't know, but people are actually doing it. Because like I said, my street connects. Uh, it looks like a side street, and like I said, it's paved like the surface of the moon. There's like chuck holes in there. Like I'm not exaggerating. There's chuck holes in this road like that deep. Like you could put a goldfish in there. You could swim around in them things when it rains. All right, but this road connects with this other road and doesn't dead end like this road up here, and there's no roads behind me. So this is a well-traveled street, and no traffic on the road, man. So this is being under lockdown. I'm just wondering how they're going to enforce that. If you go outside, if you go out, I think I heard this lady take her dog out for a shit this morning. But I mean, people got to take their dogs out. By the way, I haven't heard from my brother. As usual, my family not particularly helpful. But I left a message at my brother-in-law's house, and because my brother sleeps weird hours, and I'm like, just shoot me an email or let me know, did my brother's dog die or what happened with it, because that's gonna be like his brother dying, you know. That is such a huge part of his life and a huge part of his identity. I used to joke about him having a 140-pound, just a terrifying mastiff. It likes me, and I told you that story, man. It like he was out of the room, he would went ape shit at the dog, but the dog was happy to see me, and it didn't even like jump on me. It just hit me with its chest because it's so tall. It hit me in the chest, like around the nutty old area, around the midsection, and it knocked me into a chair, and then the chair slid sideways. This dog's so damn powerful, and so I was thinking like they have these stress animals, and it's like okay, he could actually make that his stress animal, man. Everybody else be all stressed out. He'd be fine. You know, it's like that's the equivalent of me. Like, I got my pet Wolverine here. It's my stress animal. I need to take it to the grocery store. The dog's more terrifying than a Wolverine, man. My stress animal is a Wolverine. Yeah. Here's my stress hyena. But yeah, the thought of that tickles me. And the first time I saw that, like, I was in that Coleman Professionals mental health place. And they're going to try to do their shit over the computer, by the way. I got some weird, they used like an 800 number. It literally was just 800. I'm like, what the hell is this? And they're like, they're going to try to do their appointments and stuff over the computer. And I'm going to be like, don't need that. I just need to get out of here. I don't need no appointment over no damn computer talking to people. I'd rather talk to y'all. So, uh, anyways, the first time I encountered a stress animal was in the mental health facility, and I'm like, what in the fuck is this guy doing with this pit bull looking dog, and in this place? I mean, what, because I'm old. I don't know about these things, and I don't keep in touch with the culture. That was his stress animal, so he's allowed to take it anywhere. I don't know, what yuppie dream this shit up, but it's cool. It's whatever. It's a nice dog and stuff. But if my brother took his dog around, his dog is super protective, and it's like walking a mountain lion, man. I mean, I think I told this story before. My dog got attacked by a pit bull that weighed about 60 pounds. Or my brother's dog got attacked by a pit bull that weighed like 60, 70 pounds. That's a big pit bull. It barely noticed because it tried to go for the kill shot and grab the dog's throat, and it just slipped off because it couldn't. The dog's neck is too big for the pit bull to get him in kill mode. And before my brother's dog even knew what was happening, my brother kicked it in the side and about broke its ribs and kicked its ass. And he kicked the pit bull's ass. He said, "Man, I rolled that dog. It just laid there. It couldn't even do the yip 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 yip." Wait a minute, let me do that right. Ow ow thing that dogs do because it was out of breath. It was just laying there, And he told the owner, because it's my brother and he comes from the same upbringing I come from. He was like, the dude come out, he's like, listen, man, the next time that I see that dog, I'm gonna let my dog kill it. And the guy didn't say nothing, man. He got his dog inside. He didn't say nothing to my brother, but he did say that word for word. He's like, the next time I see your dog, I'm gonna let my dog kill it, because they come out in the street and tried to kill his dog. And yeah, I got to come up with something dramatic. But yeah, that was crazy. And I said, man, did it make your dog bleed or anything like that? He said, no. There wasn't even no blood on it or nothing like that. He said it just grabbed his skin and teeth slid off. I had a similar thing happen when I got attacked by a Dalmatian when I was riding a bicycle. It attacked by who even sees a Dalmatian, let alone get attacked by it. But it grabbed my leg, and when I was riding a bicycle. I was just like, just kind of like mind my own business, going fishing on a bicycle. And it ran up and it bit me for serious, like in the thigh. But it's, I had better legs back then. I was in my 20s. And it couldn't get its mouth all the way around my thigh, so it was kind of the same thing. And I had jeans on, and it just slipped off. You know, even though it was putting the pressure on and shit, it was biting me for real. I stopped the bicycle and I pulled a knife out of my pocket. And I was like, man, somebody come get this dog because I'm gonna fucking kill it. And I yelled that shit, and nobody came out of their house, but the dog changed its whole mind about. It was like, okay, this dude ain't playing no more, man. I ain't biting him again. The dog took off and it policed itself. It was like, mm-mm. The dog don't know nothing about no knife, you know, that I had in my hand. 'Cause you gotta take a knife when you go fishing. The dog understood that I went to that evil place and like, okay, this is the big dog. This is the alpha right here. And it was just gone. It just left on its own. Nobody came out and claimed the dog or nothing. But I was like, man, somebody get this fucking dog because I'm gonna kill it. You know, I yelled that shit, and yeah, I was gone, and I would have if it come at me again, man. I would have, yeah, I would have tried to kill it. But hey, it started it. But who the hell gets attacked by a Dalmatian? I ain't even. That is the last Dalmatian I ever saw. You don't even see a Dalmatian except for on TV. Um, but yeah, see this is where it gets dangerous because I've had no sleep, and when I've had no sleep, that's why that video was so long yesterday. Is because that makes me garrulous and mouthy and wordy and loquacious and thinking up all kind of words of saying that I can't shut up. You know, that's when I'm at my worst. Or maybe best verbally is when I've had no sleep because you know when I've had my sleep and I'm in my right state of mind, I got a governor. You know, I can say like, hey, shut this shit down, man. Keep it at 55. But when I've had no sleep, man, that shit it's off the hook, man. There's no control. So yeah. Uh, Anyways, I hope his dog's alive, man. It's like I don't think it is, and I it's been 2 days since I called him. I don't really want to call him. And there's nothing I can tell him, you know, except for to grieve and to hurt with him. And he's got other people. He don't need to do that shit with me. You know, he's got my sister that abandoned me. He's got other people that, you know, other shoulders he can cry on. Maybe the dog's fine. Maybe it's not. I haven't heard from him. Not a good sign because you know, one time one of his animals died because he gets super attached to his pets. Like I said, he grieves over cats that have been alive like longer, like 5 years longer than a cat should be alive. It's time for the cat to go. It's a cat. It don't have no existential crisis. I understand you're attached to the item, to the animal. It's a big part of your life, and I understand all that. But you know, it's just nature's way. You got to get used to it, and uh, so, but this is gonna be different, man. This is gonna be different. I mean, they say that your animals and your pets are part of your family, but goes deeper than that, man. It goes deeper than that. I mean, this is gonna be like his brother dying, and yeah, I don't know if I'm equal to the task. You know, I hurting with him. It's my job as his brother to hurt with him and shit. But one time, like I was starting to say, one time he had an animal die and he just disappeared. Like he wouldn't answer the phone. Nobody. I was like, dude, that's not cool. You know, after a while, I scolded him for that, and I said, there ain't no reason you can't, you know, leave a phone message and let people know you're okay. You live alone. You know, you live alone, and you know, just to ghost yourself for a week like that, you know, where nobody can reach you in the family, nobody. You're not answering any calls. You're not, you know, I think my brother-in-law even went and knocked on his door and he just ignored him. Yeah, he just grieves real hard over his animals. And yeah, So I don't, I don't know. I guess I gotta call him. He keeps such weird freaking hours. You never know when he's awake or when he's asleep or what's going on. And thank you, brother-in-law, for like not, shoot me an email, let me know what's going on, because they would be the ones to take the dog to the vet, or to have the dog put down if that was necessary, or to have the, even if the dog died at home, um, it's 140 pounds corpse. Let's break it down here. You know, what's my brother gonna do? Bury it in the backyard? I mean, it's dog's a brainiac. Like I said, man, you got to come up with words like ambulate. You can't even take a stroll. All the words for walk are used up. Even if he's like, I have to put on my outer garment now instead of coat. Anything associated with work. The dog's got a vocabulary that probably exceeds most third graders. And when you start having you use words like ambulate for walk, you got a smart animal on your hands. And like I said, that dog played a practical joke on me and got me. Now I ain't saying I am the shiniest knife in the drawer, the smartest penny in the drawer, whatever the hell, however that expression goes. But that dog tricked me. That one day I talked about where I was throwing that treat in the corner, and it was like, "What are you talking about, man? What treat?" And it was fucking with me, and I just kept walking over and picking it up and throwing it for him, and he would be like, "Oh, what?" And then he would go over and look at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "It's over there. It's right over there in the corner." And he'd like look around. And he's like, "No idea what you're talking about." Then, like, after about 3 or 4 times of doing that, I seen like a different look in its eye. Like, I got you, motherfucker. And it walked right over in the same corner that I was throwing it in and picked up the treat and brought it over by my feet and ate it. And I was like, man, that spooked me. That actually spooked me. I was like, animals ain't supposed to be that smart. That shit was crazy. It's like, that is a smart. And when you got animals playing practical jokes on you, that's a smart animal. You know, I mean, I've been known to be gullible and being able to be taken in and stuff, but usually not. Usually by my own species. And I almost said my brother's name, but uh, he's like, man, that dog. Dog's name's Dusty. I was like, Dusty will play semantic games with you. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I told him to stay on the porch one time, and he put his back feet on the porch step, and then his front feet in the yard, and then looked at my brother and was like, I'm still on the porch technically. Dog's a damn lawyer. he's like, he's like, you know what I meant, man. Get back up on the porch. Oh shit, man. Uh, yeah, this day, just because I seem cheerful and shit, this day is not starting out well, and it's gonna suck. And I already know this, but man, you gotta find ways to laugh at stuff. Even the idea of what I read this morning, where it said Stark man dies at the age of 58 with underlying health conditions. I'm like, Stark man. I just woke up and I thought Stark naked man. You know what I mean? It's just stupid. It's just, humor is a coping mechanism. That's why, like, your funniest, yeah, what they say about art, pain becomes beauty. Uh, pain become funny. Because I met people that had good lives, and they don't have a sense of humor. I made this joke. It's a pretty damn obvious joke. And my best friend was like, thought I was serious. And I had explained to him that it was a joke. And I thought about it, and that's what I was like, what? He hasn't had to have or develop a sense of humor because he's had a good life, man. He's got children and grandchildren, and a job that he found fulfilling and a wife, and he was too busy living to have to cope with not living and suffering. And that's all humor is a coping mechanism, and that's why so many of your comedians are like die young. And you got your Chris Farleys, and you got your Norm Macdonalds who don't even know how to drive. He's like a million years old. My two favorite comedians don't know how to drive. I was like, why don't they don't? They're just dysfunctional people that had uh, strange lives. You know. Um, so yeah, humor is like a coping mechanism, and just because I'm laughing and joking about shit, and dogs playing practical jokes on me, it don't mean that I feel like getting up and doing an Irish jig that I feels good. But I always try to enjoy myself, and I always try to find humor in things. And of course, I love to talk and I love to play with words. So, but I ain't gonna get shit done because I ain't had no sleep. All I'm gonna do is lay in bed for like a couple more hours watching stupid shit on YouTube, and pass out, and then wake up feeling miserable, and my schedule's gonna be all screwed up. And yeah, so what can you do? You know. But I'll read up on a 58-year-old dude, and I bet you I got him beat though in the underlying conditions department. We'll see. We'll have to match that up and see what his deal was. But yeah, this place, we're under literal lockdown, and it's kind of funny because I was searching for articles about Corona and for this area, and it was like Governor Mike DeWine says there will be no lockdown or martial law, and it was of course like about a week ago. We got I think 442 cases in the state now. Um, yeah, and I don't know what I could have got that aid worker to do today anyway. I didn't fill out and mess with my form, so I think it's be pretty easy to fill out. I could have done that, but I was like, I can do that Thursday. I got time yet. I don't have to be paranoid. As long as I meet my April 3rd deadline of getting that mailed, as long as they receive it by April 3rd, and I'll call them up, call up Medicaid, and you know, I always do that. I call up Medicaid and confirm that Medicaid has renewed my benefits, so that the next time something evil happens to me, the I'll have some insurance to pay for it. I don't even understand the policies. Uh, like, do they have to keep you alive? I know they stop taking certain forms of insurance like they don't take my form of insurance. I got grandfathered in on my doctor because my people down the road that I don't talk to anymore tried going to my doctor, and they were like, yeah, don't take your insurance. And I'm like, what's the same insurance as mine? I asked them about it, and they were like, that's because, you got the grandfather clause. They said it more or less, you know, in so many words. They were like, well, you've been a patient of ours for a long time, and, you know, so they still see me. So I still go see Dr. Wacky Pants, which, since everybody's on lockdown, my appointment's on April 3rd, that I was going to put off anyway. Everybody's on lockdown here until uh, April 6th, and I get the feeling that, they're just easing us into it, because it's, the governor here is already starting to use language that would lead you to believe that it starts saying, instead of 2 weeks, it's starting to saying at least 2 weeks, in the articles that I'm reading and stuff. So I feel bad for like everybody else. I'm used to it, you know. At this point, I am a quarantine Jedi. You know, I am a master red belt at isolation. I can amuse myself just with my own twisted mind and my mental gymnastics and my various hobbies. I feel bad for the people that are used to living healthy lives and they're used to walking around and they're used to going and doing their own shopping and stuff like that. And I do not really actually feel that much satisfaction about the whole thing. Like, now you know how I got to live. Uh, so I think I was starting to say that I didn't know what to tell my aid worker to do anyway. I talked to the lady that runs the place, and you know, she's not much for conversation, but I wanted to ask about that's going to wipe her business out. I mean, how are they going to hang in there? I got my clippers, by the way, in the mail. I just didn't clipper my hair yet. I don't know if they're going to deliver my cat food yet, which is going to be a problem. If we're going to be under lockdown, am I still going to get my Walmart delivery for cat food? Because, yeah, I mean, my clippers came before the lockdown. So I'll have to check into that too, or my cat's going to be very unhappy because he's going to have to eat dry, hard food and he's spoiled. He deserves to be spoiled, man. He's going blind in one eye. His sister just died. He's old, man. So, I've been labeling out the tuna fish for him, which is his favorite thing in the world. And yeah, I got like 2 cans left. Got a couple cans left, man. They ain't going to last till April 6th or whatever. I don't know if Walmart's still going to make deliveries or not. They should deliver the cat food already by now, so I have to check into that. But I do at least have the clippers. They're still charging over there, so I can clipper off my hair and get that Yul Brynner look going. I ain't shaving my head though, man. I don't shave my head. I just take the clippers and take the comb off and clipper it as close as I can as possible. Shaving my head just sounds like too much work. And razors cost money. So that was another thing about my dad. I was talking about my dad a lot in that last video, but another thing about my dad is he had stalactites for whiskers. He called them jaggers all the time. He was a weird dude. Like I said, nobody who ever met my dad ever would forget my dad. But this ain't no fucking lie. He could not shave with like a regular safety razor. He had to have the old fashioned razors that they had one razor blade in them, and the razor blade was hanging out like really really far. And they're the old like Gillette old timey razors, man. He even had straight razors. You know, he liked to edge weapons, but I've seen him. He had like a real expensive German straight razor too. I don't know if he shaved with an actual straight razor or not, or if he carried it in his shoe just in case he couldn't, just in case one day he forgot his knife. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there's a Jim Croce song in my head now, like that has a line: "He carries a razor in his shoe." And I can't think of the rest of it. But anyways, his beard was so heavy that he could not shave with your standard safety razor. He had to have that old timey razor, and like he called them jaggers. So like when you was a little kid, like he would rub them on some of your bare skin or whatever, and be like, "Daddy's got jaggers," you know, like uh, jaggers was something he called thorns. You know, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was some countryism. I don't know, but I remember like for whatever screwed up reason, my foster brother, when he first started to shave, went ahead and tried my dad's razor, man, and he about cut his throat, man. It looks like some Sweeney Todd shit. I mean, he cut himself so bad that it looked like it needed stitches with this old timey razor that my dad used to use. But yeah, he had a beard that was like stalactites. It's like he couldn't shave with a regular safety razor. It was some kind of weird thing. Um, but it wasn't bullshit. You know, he wasn't like just saying that. It's like he, he he actually, yeah, he. It's just another oddity about him and his stone finger and his stalactite beard. He sounds like some kind of mythical character. He chopped himself in the leg with a hatchet and or an axe, I forget which, and drove himself to the emergency room. I mean, that's some Joe Frazier shit. Joe Frazier cut off his big toe, cutting a lawn with a lawnmower and put it in an ice bag and drove him, wrapped his foot up and drove himself to the emergency room. And they asked him about it, and he said, it's nothing compared to fighting Ali. But yeah, my dad wrapped up his leg, but they had shitty surgery, of course, back then. So they put a metal rod in his leg. So he had a metal rod in his leg. He had a stone finger. He had stalactite beard. You know, he sounded like he was some kind of like mythical creature. And I, my niece that was in the army thought that was funny as hell. He's like, because he was like marching in the army, and he's like, man, the hell with this. And he went in and saw the doctor, and told the doctor, like, I got a metal rod in my leg. I can't be marching. And the doctor like took X-rays and confirmed it and whatnot. And then all he did was drive. He was never on his feet again. And my niece thought that was funny because he's like, man, it's funny that it's like one of the badass motherfuckers ever walked the planet is we call them guys bitches in the armies, the guys that are driving around the officers and stuff. He's like it's kind of funny that my grandpa, badass motherfucker that he was, is doing a job that we would make fun of people for. And yeah, he was a piece of work. I wish I could have connected with him on some way. You know, I got like melancholy about that shit, about my mom and about my dad. They just died like 5 years ago, and that's not a very long time when you're 50 odd years old. And but yeah, I wish I could have connected with him on some kind of level, but I don't think that would have been possible on anything but a surface level. You know, I never, maybe I didn't want to be, maybe he was protecting me from whatever fueled his madness. Who knows? But yeah, see, like I don't have no sign of Native American in me, but um, my uncles, they all look like they had some kind. Everybody say, "Oh, I'm such and such part Cherokee." It's like I got to get you a picture of my dad. I got to get that off my brother somehow and get over there. Now that we're under lockdown, that ain't gonna happen for a while. But man, the dude looked like a damn Indian to boot. He looked like a Native American. Shit, maybe that's why my Native American character Scorpion Foot, which I actually looked that name up, and it's like, man, that's a pretty damn original name, Scorpion Foot, because he killed a man using only his foot. It all comes from my dad, kicking the shit out of that dude, and saying I never touched him, I only kicked him. And the guy's like unhinged, super dangerous, and he's off in the wilderness, both a psychic and a actual physical wilderness, just off by himself. It's kind of how my dad was. It's like I never connected with him. I could never connect with him in any kind of way, in a deep and meaningful way, and I think he was protecting me from himself. In that way, he's like, man, you don't even want to know what's going on in my head. You know, occasionally he would hold forth and talk about his childhood, and I'd be like, God damn. You know, it's like the one story, real quick, that I told on here before. It's like he was like, got really good with a knife really young because his older brothers were, you know, one of his older brothers was a serial killer, one was a leg breaker. These were bad people, and he was one of the younger brothers. So, and he was also small. He was 5'11", 185 to 200 pounds, but he was the small guy. The other guys, they grew up to be like 6'3", 6'5", and shit. But they were all afraid of him because he took it to another level, man. He didn't play. And then to protect himself from his brothers, he got good with a knife like really, really early. And I'm talking really early. So before he was 12 years old, he was playing catch with a baseball glove, playing, you know, baseball catch. And he had a baseball glove on one hand, and he was playing too close to this dog that hated him because they were out in the country down there in West Virginia. And his dog went after him and tried to kill him and come at his throat when he was either somewhere between 10 and 12 years old. And the dog came at him, and he backhanded the dog with the baseball glove, reached in his pocket, took out his knife, opened his knife before the dog regained its feet, and jumped at him again. And when the dog jumped at him again, he had the knife ready, and he said he went for its eye, and he cut it like down across the face like that. And of course the dog was like, okay, we done. Dog yelped and screaming and bleeding, ran home to the owner, and the owner showed up with the police at my dad's house with my grandfather there, and there is like your son cut my dog, and you know, my grandfather was like, did you do that? And he was like, hell yeah, I did. The damn dog tried to kill me. And my grandfather, I guess, was like, then we got nothing else to talk about, man. You control your dog better. Maybe it don't get killed. Intimating that next time it might get killed. So, you know, that was like, think about that, man. That's like a 12-year-old, you know. 12, it's like a 12-year-old, and that's how freaking fast he was. It's like the dog jumped at his throat. He smacked it down with the glove on his offhand, reached in the pocket with his other hand, flipped open the knife, and was ready for it. Because I don't know if you know how fast a dog can regain its feet and come back at you. Yeah, he would tell me stories like that, and I'd be like, I believe it. I believe it. I seen enough. I believe it. But like I said, the real thing that clued me in, you know, these are old stories, but the real thing that clued me in that none of that shit was bullshit. Because you hear stuff and you kind of like think, you hear enough stories, you know, and you kind of think like, yeah, okay, you know, but it doesn't sink down and hit you in your guts until you have some kind of personal experience with it. And like I said, I was hanging around this guy, his daughters, because his daughters were hot. He hated my guts. He wanted to throw me out of the house, but then he found out my name was Bart, and he's like, do you know what Pete Bart? And I'm like, yeah, that's my dad. And then he was super nice to me, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And I didn't understand. I went and I talked to my dad about it, and he's like, what's a guy look like? Where does he live? I was like, yeah, well, his name's Dietrich, and he looks like an Italian dude, got black hair and a mustache, and he lives down there by Spring Valley Road. And my dad was like, oh, yeah, I remember him. One night outside the Palms, my brother was kicking the shit out of one of his motorcycle buddies, and he was going to intervene, and I stuck my knife in against his belly and told him, like, you take one more step towards what's going on out there, I'm going to open you up like a ripe watermelon. And, of course, like I said, my dad was memorable. That guy did not forget that. You're not going to forget something like that. So he was like, Barton? Do you know a Pete Barton? So when I saw his reaction to where he wouldn't even talk to me and he looked like he wanted to throw me out of his house for distance for sniffing around his daughters and shit, and then he went from that. And I swear to God, this is the line that he used when he found out that who my dad was. He was like, You want something to drink, man? We got Pepsi or Coke in the refrigerator if you're thirsty. I'm like, what? Who is this? Is this the same guy? And then this is when I was like, I don't know, 17 or something like that. It was between my surgeries, I remember. So yeah, I was 17, and I went home and I asked my dad about that, and because that guy reacted like that, I was like, oh my God, all that shit's true. Everything I heard about my dad is true. And it hit me in my gut instead of my brain, because your brain will process things, but when the truth hits you, it hits you in your gut. And I was like, great. I'm living with. He did kill somebody, and I did. He did do that. He did do this, and that story about him like cutting that dog when he was 10 or 12 years old, and nearly killing it. And when he told me like, yeah, I tried for the eye, he actually had to, at that young of an age, had the fucking perspicacity and awareness to go for the eye, and then like when he told me that he killed a dog by punching it in the chest that was a Labrador Retriever that weighed 70 or 80 pounds. And he stood back and punched it in the chest and caved in its chest and killed it. I'm like, all that shit is true. It's like, what the hell am I living with? you know, I lived with the man for 20 years because I had those ailments I couldn't get away from. It's like, man, what am I living with? I mean, this is some dangerous shit. And then like I reached my breaking point, and I had to go through that trial of manhood of like, you know, facing him down and getting in his face. And I remember how he reacted, and it was scary as fuck. But I wasn't, I was out of my head nuts because I'm hot blooded. He's cold blooded and hot blooded, but he was stayed like in the cold blooded place. He was just looking at me with surprise. He's like, where's this coming from? But he had just been mean to my younger brother, and I felt protective of my younger brother. And I was like, man, you're a mean son of a bitch. It just popped out of my mouth. And he's like, what? And I got up, and I stood up in his face. And I was like, you heard me. I said, you're a mean son of a bitch. And then, I started going off, and I don't remember what I said. And he just stood there looking at me, like calm, like, and shit. And then that's my story where, like, my sister had her baby, and I was so out of my freaking head. I thought I was just like, stay out of it, like that, but I threw her across the room with the baby in her arms, and she landed in a chair. Thank God, you know. I later became like a surrogate father to that particular baby, and looked out for him and shit. But, I thought, in my mind, I thought I was like, stay out of it, because she was trying to get in between us because she's stupid. I was just, in my mind, I was just like, stay out of it, just like arming her out of the way. But I was so far gone that it wasn't no straight arm, man. It was like a throw you across the room type of thing. Because I was in pretty good physical shape at that point. But he was just cold looking at me, man. And then the only thing he said was, man, you better not pressure your luck. And he gave me that death stare. Kind of calmed me down a little bit, you know. But I still kept going. And he just listened to it and took it. And he knew, and I knew that if we touched each other, there's gonna be some hospitals and some police and maybe a coroner involved. And yeah, that was the day that I stood up to my dad finally. And he was, yeah, shit, man, he would have chewed me up and spit me out, man. No doubt about that. I don't give a damn what kind of shape or, you know, he's had so much experience, and I had just these little fights. I had like maybe, I don't know, 30 fights under my belt, but they weren't life and death type of fights. Uh, they were just fights between kids. You beat the guy up, you get up. He had already put people in the ground and shit. So Yeah, this is yeah, this is just me being sleepy. But man, you can't escape that. You know, it's like that haunts your. I've been dreaming about him a lot too. You know, that shit haunts your dreams, man. And the dreams are usually sad. And yeah, it is weird to have a father and have no connection and no instruction from him. You know, he never talked to me about life. Well, he did have his philosophies. They talked about life, but he never talked about like a strategy for my life or like what I wanted to be when I grew up or any plans for my future or like any help. Like there wasn't going to be like, you know, son, if you when it comes to women or you want to meet girls, or there was no like father and son sex talk, or there would, you know, it was almost like he was walled off, and he was maybe not only protecting me from his psycho serial killer and leg breaking brothers and other things, because there was rapists in there was pedophiles, there, you know, there was a, you name it, his brothers did it. I mean, to quote my cousin, oh, they were all perverts on that side of the family. So, yeah, you know, he was maybe protecting him. Not only was he protecting me from his brothers by scaring the fuck out of them, but he used to have this expression that he would say jokingly. He's like, "Man, I'm so mean, I scare myself." And he'd say it jokingly, but I don't think it was a joke. So I think he was protecting me from himself by not letting me get close to him, which is a shame, you know. It's a real shame. But yeah, he was such a mixed bag, you know. It was like he had love in him, he just couldn't express it. He had musical ability, he couldn't express that, you know. And he was real like down on himself about his own ignorance because he didn't finish school. But I didn't finish school either. He was smart. Uh, you know, he wasn't no genius, but he was smart. He read voraciously. Like I said, when I'd go to the library, I'd have to get him extra books. He wouldn't go to the library for himself, but I'd go to the library. I was like, here's the books that I want to read. Here's my extortion books, or here's my what would you call it? Wish I had sleep. Um, shit. My bribe. There's a name for that. Well, let's forget that. I'm sorry about that. But anyways, you get the point. I'd be like, please don't read the books that I want to read. I got these books. Maybe you'll read these books, but you know that only worked out about 50% of the time. I'd have a book I was hot to read, and that'd be the one that he would grab, and he'd have it for a couple of days reading it, and I'd be like, damn it, I really wanted to read Cujo, you know, going back a ways. But yeah, he was, you know, like my sister used to say about him, he was like uh, the the best of of the family that he came from. He tried to be good. He went to work and he kept us fed. It can't be said about, you know. I would go. I've told this shit before, and I don't know why I'm running into it. I'm already approaching an hour, but um, I got a clue into how that I had like a privileged existence in a way, because I got to eat every day and I got to eat good food, and I had the power was always on, you know. And I went over to one of his brother's houses and stayed over there, and we had a big bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, or some kind of cooked cereal. It might have been uh, some other kind of cooked cereal, but it was like in a gigantic bowl. And I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? You know, I'm used to eating like eggs and bacon or some good cold cereal, man, some cinnamon toast crunch or something. You know, I'm just this nasty cereal. And I'm watching the two brothers, man, they downed like 2 pounds of that stuff. I'm just trying to get through part of it. And I'm like, oh, you know, I ate some of it, not to be impolite, but I was like, man, this is nasty. And then the reason why they ate like that is because they had popcorn for dinner. That was dinner. They didn't have no lunch. They had popcorn for dinner because his sleazebag brother was out blowing his paycheck at a bar, getting drunk, flirting with other women. And I was like, okay, my dad for he's providing for us, taking care of us, keeping a roof over our head. There was times at that same house where they were just huddled around the heater because the heat got turned off in the wintertime in Ohio. I'd go over to their house, and it wasn't a house, it was a trailer they were living in. And the windows would be broken and cardboarded up, you know. And it wasn't like his brother didn't make decent money, where he just didn't want to share it with his family, didn't want to take care of his family. And so, yeah, there was a lot of good points about my dad to go along with all that evil and all that rage and all that murderousness. So that's why I say, like he's way more interesting than I am because there's so many versions of Pete Barton, and it's like it was like a box of chocolates, man. You ain't never know what you're going to get. Every day was sort of interesting, and it's like uh, if he was in a good mood, it could be almost as bad as when he was in a bad mood because when he was in a good mood, it was creepy and uh, yeah, he was. I don't know if he's a manic depressive borderline. I don't know what his deal was, man. But yeah, his moods went from here, there, and everywhere. And yeah, and I think that he just grew up so twisted that he never was able to express himself in any other way but anger or sadness. It was either blood or tears with him. And I never seen him cry, but you could see the sadness in him. And yeah, then I didn't speak to him like for 13 years before he died. And then I was gonna it's got to be done. Uh, I thought I had a couple of months, and like I said before, and I made arrangements with my best friend to take me to the nursing home and see him and give him a chance to say whatever he wanted to say with me before he died. And then he died before he died like the next day. And like 2 days later, I had arrangements to go to see him, and my sister told me that I asked her about him, and she was like, "Yeah, he's not looking too good, but the nurses and everyone's saying that he's got at least a few more months left in him." I was like, "Well, I better not wait too long," and I did. So the last time I spoke to my father died in 2015. The last time I spoke to him, 2003. That's sounds like 12 years, but it was more like 13 because of the way it was set up months wise. And yeah, it's just something I gotta live with, you know. But yeah, it, yeah, nobody that met that guy ever forgot him. There's so many stories associated with him, man. It's like my cousin. I don't know what happened. I forget. I can't remember what caused him to do this, but for some reason or another, he kicked my dad in the balls. He was like it's like giving Godzilla a hot foot or something, man. It's just something you don't do. Kick my dad in the balls. And he said my dad did not drop down to his knees or nothing like that, man. But he looked at him and he said, "Man, you better get the fuck out of here." And he said he ran as fast as he could. He's like, I don't know. in his late teens. He said he ran as fast and as far as he could, and he hid in the woods because they lived out in the boonies. And he didn't come back. He wasn't gonna come back. He didn't come back, and when he came back, he looked to make sure that my dad was gone. Like my dad's truck was gone. He's like, "Okay, I'll come back now." I'm like, I gotta ask him that next time I talk to him. I was like, "Why did you kick my dad in the balls, man?" He's like, "Why would you do that? what, what prompted that?" But I just remember that, he kicked my dad in the balls. Even the concept of that is just mind blowing to me because he's just so lethal. And I mean, like I said, man, the serial killer brother and the leg breaker brother was afraid of him. Didn't want, he told him, "Man, you come around my house, my family, man, I'm just gonna kill you." And they believed him. They had no reason not to believe him. And I never even met my serial killer uncle. Never met the guy. Don't even know what he looks like. Never even seen a picture of him. And the leg breaker guy, he never come around the house. I only met him once, and that's when he went to visit my dad in the hospital when he had a heart attack. And like I said in other videos, he looked like a refugee from the 70s, man. He looked like he was ready to go to the disco, man. He had the wide collared shirt. You know how people don't change their styles or their hairstyles with the times? And it was open in the chest, and he had a bunch of chains and shit, man. He looked like a pimp. I did have an uncle who was a pimp, by the way, so, like I said, my uncles covered the gambit of every kind of evil there was. So my Uncle Dave was a pimp, and I believe I told all them stories before. And but yeah, they didn't want nothing to do. They didn't want no part of my dad. So the fact is, I got to talk to him. I swear to God, I'll do that for you. I'll talk to him. I'll get that whole story. I just can't think of it right now because I ain't had no sleep and I got woke up early. And yeah. Oh, I should report. I prefer going down memory lane because yeah, like I said, man, I ain't never met nobody. I met a lot of people. I'm 50 odd years old, but I ain't never met nobody like my dad. Nobody even close as far as like pow, just like standing out, And like I told that story where this is when he was an old man and after he had a heart attack and shit. And we shouldn't have been doing this work, but I was working with him in my 20s, in my late 20s, and we were doing hard labor type of work, man, making them concrete benches. And that Jack guy was fucking with him because he was a gambler. He liked danger. So he was fucking with my dad all damn day, and my dad did not feel good. And he said, "Look, man, I don't feel good, man. Just leave me be." He said it quietly the first time. Second time, he didn't say it so quietly. He picked that dude up by one arm and ragdolled him by one arm with his face bright red and said, "I told you not to fuck with me, Jack. Didn't I tell you not to fuck with me? Didn't I tell you that shit?" And we just ragdolling him, and the guy was up, I remember, on one toe, man, with one leg out. And he just held him there, man. He just held him there because he wasn't going to let him go because he didn't want to kill him. He wanted the guy to understand, man, if you say one more goddamn word to you, I'm going to put you in the concrete, and that's going to be the end of you. So he wouldn't let go of him, and he kept just ragdolling him by one arm until the guy was like, yes, Pete, I won't fuck with you no more. I understand. Yeah. All kind of like stuttering ass words was coming out of this guy's mouth. And here's the thing. I know I told this before, but the whole crew was all younger dudes. Like, I was there. There was another guy there in his 30s. My dad's in his 60s. There was another guy there. There's another guy there. They were all younger dudes. And they didn't say shit to my dad the rest of the day either. And that guy that was getting ragdolled that was all. He was the boss. He was paying everybody. If my dad busts him up, that affects their lives negatively because it was all like under the table type of work. That's why I was able to do it and get disability at the same time. It was under the table type of work. So, if he hurts Jack, they called him Action Jackson because he was a gambler. He was always plotting and scheming and trying to find out ways to get money and shit. So if he busts Jack up, that's going to jack up their lives. You know, didn't matter. They weren't getting in the middle of that. They weren't having nothing to do with my dad. They didn't even talk to my dad the rest of the day. Everybody just left him the fuck alone except for me. I talked to him. You know, that's the type of aura he presented. They knew what they were fucking dealing with. They knew that was life and death shit. And they knew, what they saw was not natural. It's not a natural thing to see that. They knew that what they saw was some stuff that they were nearly witnessing a murder, you know. And yeah. But that's the thing that impressed me most was that dude was paying everybody under the table, and that was affecting those guys' livelihood. They were all younger than my dad, like half his age, and my dad was in his 60s and they were in their 30s. Still didn't want no part of him. And that sums him up. And I'll leave it at that, man, because that's an hour radio. When I don't have no sleep, man, I can go through all these old crazy ass memories and shit. I don't know why I'm like that, but when I don't get no sleep, man, I'm just, yeah, I could talk for 5 hours. Doesn't even make no sense. Do it. I should be like bereft of energy and whatnot. But yeah, I guess my heart's starting to act weirdly. Yeah, my heart's starting to act like it did that day when I was on that scene thinking my dad was going to kill Action Jackson. And just like everybody else, man. But he wasn't letting him down. He just wasn't letting him down until he saw it in his face that he understood that, like, this ain't no game. This ain't no game, man. If you want to end the day still breathing, leave me alone. And then the next day, man, the guy could barely move his arm. He was useless. He didn't do much work anyway, but he was useless and he was carrying his arm weird and shit. He got his arm like wrenched out of the socket. And yeah, he couldn't lift his arm and shit the next day. I do remember that. And I remember the okay Pete, okay Pete, okay Pete. I is like there's like a force of nature type of thing, you know. Like my dad was some kind of strange force of nature, and yeah, I don't even, I described them the best I can to you, but it's kind of like describing the ocean to somebody that's never seen it before the days of television and other media. It's like describing the ocean to somebody in 900 AD that lives in the that lived 1,000 miles from it. You know, it's like you can't describe shit like that. But yeah, but he wasn't all bad. Some of his brothers were all bad, but he wasn't all bad. He just was terrifying. But yeah, I'll find out why my cousin kicked Godzilla in the balls. I got no idea why anybody would do that, or what the hell possessed him to do that. Maybe uh, how much weed was you smoking? Was you drunk? I mean, what the fuck would you do that? But you see, I do remember him saying that he ran off in the woods and hid, and they come back like an engine man sneaking up, like the truck's gone. Like my Uncle Pete's not here no more. It's safe to come back. I'm sure he gave him that eye, that eye. That blood freezing, blood curdling look. God damn, man. I can't say it ain't been interesting being me. It sure is. Hell, ain't been a whole lot of fun, but I do my best to try to make it. So here, but anyways, until next time.